Lastly, I'm wondering, why is it important to maintain an appropriate humidity level in my home?
Humidity levels are important. Once again, I can talk a lot more from the experience where we're living here, where we build in Ottawa, we build with wood. We're framing with wood, there's hardwood floors, there's wood furniture, there's all sorts of wood throughout the home. So that is one important factor. If you don't maintain humidity levels throughout your home, wood's gonna shrink, crack, warp, whatever may happen to that wood. If we go back to the beginning, so we even need to maintain it where we are building from the start, because a lot of warranties, for example, in hardwood flooring might be voided if your hardwood is not climatized before it gets installed. So if you're a builder or you're renovating and you buy hardwood, it gets delivered to the site, you install it that day, that's gonna be a big no-no, because if something were to happen to that hardwood, if it were to shrink or expand or whatever may happen, the manufacturer will probably come back and say, no, well, you didn't let it climatize. How do they prove that? I don't know. But either way, you have to, usually it's at least 48 hours where you let it sit in the house, it acclimatizes to the humidity level of the home. That being said, you need to make sure that the humidity level at the home at that time is what it's going to be throughout the year. And then when you move in, it's very important to maintain that humidity. So here where we are, we have extremely dry winters and very humid summers. So in the summer, we're gonna be running the air conditioner to get rid of the humidity levels. And in the winter, in this case, at least in our home, we actually need to humidify our house. But if you have enough people living in a home, they might be generating enough humidity within the home. Maybe there's too much. I've had rental units in the past where there was actually too much humidity. Running an HRV, ERV, that can control that sort of stuff. Where you'll also run into issues if humidity levels get too high is with your windows. If you have a really good window, a high performing window, you probably won't have any issues in terms of condensation building up on the window inside. With poor windows, even with humidity levels that aren't even up to where they should be for a healthy indoor air quality, they will generate some sort of humidity usually at the bottom of the window, and it's usually if it's extremely cold outside, and that's just physics. It's going to happen. Cold plane meeting a warm plane, but if you have a window that performs good enough, that shouldn't happen. What'll happen at that point, if that window if it's wet all the time, it's going to potentially create mold. I've had this in apartments too, not one that I own, but one that I was renting. Cleaned all the windowsills, all the mold. Anyways, it wasn't good. I couldn't sleep in the bedroom for like a week. It's like instant coughing, but so you'll run into issues there. Also, if you have blinds, you need to be careful of that, right? If you have blinds on the inside, humidity might build up on the window, frost, whatever, then you're gonna run into mold. If you have wood window frames, this is gonna be important too. If it starts to rot out the wood window frame, if it sits there long enough, hopefully you're maintaining your home and you're not letting it sit there that long. So that's gonna be an important factor. Also, if humidity levels drop too low, that's actually bad for bacteria, I've recently found out. So bacteria can actually grow if the conditions are too dry. To maintain a healthy indoor air quality, you do wanna maintain that humidity level, around 30-40% ideally. It's different on who you talk to. A lot of window companies will say, well, you have to have a lower one because they get condensation on the windows and then people think it's a window issue. But then wood companies are going to say that you need it up around 40 or 45, whatever it may be, depending on the hardwood company. So it's, who do you listen to, right? But I think in that 30, 40 to 50 range, 50 is getting pretty high, that's going to give you a healthy indoor air quality, and then maintaining that throughout the entire year is going to be very important if you want to make sure your wood doesn't shrink or expand, or condensation on your windows, or have a healthy indoor air quality, whatever it may be, whatever's most important to you.
How do usually people measure the humidity in their home?
Well, you can just get little humidistats. Actually, what are they called? What are they called? Humidistats. Google that. But you can actually just get it where it's like, some of them are magnets. You can stick them on your fridge if you want. You can buy ones, I've bought them for clients before, where you can get like a digital one. It'll actually record every so often, and then it sends it to an app. The company was Hobo, I believe, H-O-B-O. And then you can buy those, and then it'll measure it, it'll maintain, depending on how often you measure, it can store a certain amount of readings, but then all those readings can get sent to your phone whenever you want. And then you'll have a record. So if you ever did have an issue, for example, where your wood did shrink, if you have a record of the humidity level that you were keeping throughout your house the entire year, that's going to be good information to know. There's controls, like Costco sells all sorts of stuff. You can get those little controls that'll like measure the temperature and humidity outside and the humidity inside. They'll do everything, right? So you can get, it's cheap, it's out there. you can find it. It's easy to measure and maintain. Well, sorry, easy to measure. Maintaining might be a little bit more difficult.